Alrighty, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome back to our solo character challenge run with just the ninja. I have to admit I don't even know where we are, and I did not actually create the table I wanted to for all the weapons. But ninja is so crazy strong that I'm really not exactly worried about things, so we'll just go. What do I need? A mithril knife? Oh yeah, we are just before the cutscene, I suppose. Do you need to prepare anything at all? I don't think so. I do probably want to go and get a second mithril knife. I want to probably get an upgraded hat, like a plumed hat or something like that, and then we are already ready for going through the next section. How much HP do I have? A bit over 457, that's plenty, I would say. Game Genie Ninja Start? No, I did not use a Game Genie. I used I'm playing on the SD2 SNES, and I just kind of used a save RAM, as in the save file I transferred from the emulator over to this one here in order to start with all jobs unlocked. I could not get the Game Genie to work, unfortunately. My Game Genie is probably just not functional, honestly, from what I can tell. Timer? Oh my goodness, thank you. Every time. But yeah, I also haven't really calculated on what level I want to reach in order to get through the game, but what I end up probably doing is I will just get both the flame as well as the angel ring, and with that I most likely have more than enough level to get all the way to World 3 at the very least. Hello Silas outside, welcome, how are you doing? How's it going? I'm actually wondering whether the black flames are even the best spot for like late game grinding even. Probably not quite, but then again, no, I have a pretty good idea where I would go for grinding for the late game. I would probably just go to the desert with water scrolls. Yeah, I actually have no idea how it works on the SNES version. At least I have a general idea on how the item duplication works on the GBA version, because you just use the L and R button to offset the index by one or something like that. And then you throw a thing that you shouldn't be able to throw. Then you have a negative thing in your inventory. Overlap it with an item that you steal, and suddenly you have a lot of things in your inventory. Oh yeah, left array around is quicker because you don't have to walk around the flame. Also, by the way, if you interact with the flame, fire! Yeah, I just like doing that. You're okay, that's nice. I am actually quite tired. I only got 3 hours of sleep, but I didn't want to, well, take any more days off. I need to actually continue and finish this thing here sometime. You need a secondary item command being drink, mix or throw. Unfortunately, combine doesn't work. Interesting. Oops, I did not actually mean to go here yet. I'll go there in just a moment. So first of all, I will want to have a second mithril knife to be able to use against things in case I go into melee. Actually, right now I'm mostly going to melee, don't I? And then let's see what kind of weapons we can get. Plus, I probably want to buy the sleep spell already as well. We can get plumed hat, which is more magic defense in general. And the rest is not really worthwhile because we have plus strength with our training suit. That's kind of all we're looking for. Also, let me go ahead and sell those silly leather shoes, otherwise they will always be automatically equipped, which is kind of annoying. Oh yeah, the reason why we have so much money already is because it took me so long to get the flame scrolls. Reminds me, I think I want to feed liquid flame in... what was it? I think it's the hand form. We'll see. But I want the sleep spell. And that's kind of all I'm looking for here. The reason why I get the sleep spell is because we need to defeat Antlion at the beginning of World 3 with low level characters, and the sleep spell just makes that super easy. Alrighty, let's go. So, having mithril knives equipped, we can now deal actually a pretty substantial amount of damage. It's probably significantly more still than just throwing items. But at the very least, once we reach Sandburn, that's gonna change up a little bit. Also, we did get, I think, at least one shuriken, if I'm not mistaken. And I will be able to use that one shuriken in order to deal with... I think I was going for Ifrit with that. I feel like Ifrit makes the most sense. Also, as usual, just grabbing the elixirs that are pretty much along the way. No reason not to, since they are right there and they're very, very helpful in general. We still don't actually have an easy way to like multi-attack. As soon as we get our Black Jacobo, we will be able to just buy ninja scrolls, and then we have area of effect attacks that we can absolutely demolish groups of enemies with. And that is exactly what I'm going to be looking for. Also, I guess I'm not entirely awake, as you might be able to tell, because we don't need that cabin. I wanted to go get the elixir, which is over here, not on the left there. One more elixir that we can get just before liquid flame. Also, by the way, penguin doors. Look at the doors that we walk through. They look like penguins. Phoenix down here, at the very least, it is 500 gold. But maybe I'm gonna use it directly, who knows. If you're looking for high potions, these poltergeist enemies, they have the common steel of a high potion, which is incredibly valuable this early in the game because, well, you don't get high potions normally until you are a little bit into World 2. So I recommend stealing them if you have a thief in your party. I tend to say if you have this or that in your party because I'm mostly thinking of playing Forge of Fiestas. And that's just how that works. Alright, which door was it? The far right, I think? Basically, there is a way to go downstairs and grab a green beret. That green beret gives +1 strength, +1 agility, has a bit more physical defense, but actually I think less magic evasion. Which, magic evasion right now doesn't really matter. But yeah. Greetings to you, Dulaxon. Welcome. How are you doing? Oh, that's right. That's right. As a ninja, we can actually use this one here, I think. Right? The full moon weapon. The ranged weapon, a little bit more attack power actually. The downside is that it doesn't have as much chance to hit, so it tends to miss once in a while. But because it is a fair bit stronger in just straight up raw attack power, I feel like it might be worthwhile to use. Alright, we want to use the green beret. More defense. Let's go. And hey, Leffy, I did. It was a very generous seed, and I just happened to take the correct path. So... Well, the randomizer went pretty well, I would say. Thank you. Alrighty, against Liquid Flame you want to have, at the very least, a little bit over 300 HP. Because the handform will counterattack with fire too, whenever you hit it with anything. So you absolutely want to, well, have a bit of a HP buffer. 457 is actually pretty comfortable. I think we should even survive a Blaze as well as a Fire 2 counterattack. Or I think it's called Flame in this version. Either way, the humanoid form that Liquid Flame starts in counterattacks with Flame, I think it's called, which deals 25% of your maximum health and damage to your entire party. So, let's see. First we want to use Image to be able to avoid physical attacks, which is actually kind of a big deal against physical form. 184. This Flame, let's see. Yes, we should actually survive a second counterattack, so we're pretty fine there. But before we do this, we can just conveniently heal up with potions. Also, apparently I did not restock on potions. That could be a problem. We should be fine. Maybe I have to be a bit more conservative with them than usual. Either way, this is the tornado form of Liquid Flame. It has by a fair amount the most physical evasion. It has 30% physical evasion, which means maybe I should just stick to the dagger anyways. Daggers actually cut enemies' physical evasion in half. So since Liquid Flame has evasion on all three forms, it's 30% on Tornado, I think it's 20% on the hand form, and I think it's 10% on the human form. I might be wrong on that. Either way, this one here can cast Fire 2 on itself 6 times. And basically after that it can no longer heal itself. And that's gonna be kind of convenient. So this is the hand form. The most dangerous part about it is normally that it would, well, stun us with its stun touch. However, because we don't really have to worry about that right now, thanks to having Image, well, we don't have to worry about it. It's kind of straightforward, isn't it? So now, during the tornado form, because it's out of magic, we don't have to worry about it healing anymore. So each one of the three forms has its separate magic pool. Specifically, the hand form will only be able to cast Fire 2 3 times. So we just hope to get the tornado form right after the hand form, and we'll be perfectly fine. Hey Shiva, welcome and thank you for the luck, and thank you for the host. Pretty bad emotions. Interesting. Flame Tornado looks pretty awesome. I agree. Alrighty. So what I kind of hope for is mostly just a bit of luck overall, that I hit and don't miss. And maybe also get humanoid form instead. Oh, that's bad. So the reason why this is bad is because I will now have to heal up if I get to the hand form. Alright, we get to the hand form. So this is less than ideal, to say the very least. Because the hand forms, well, we need to heal over 300, otherwise I will die to the Fire 2. And that would be kinda bad. So we still have our Elf Cape, which means 1 in 3 physical attacks are going to miss, even on top of Image. And the Fingertips is exactly the attack that we want to entirely avoid, which is why we use Image in the first place. because that is the attack that will also simultaneously stun us. And if you have seen any of the previous solo character challenges, you know how bad it is to get stunned on bosses like Carl Boss or even Crayclaw at times. Alright. By the way, Liquid Flame has 3000 HP total. We have dealt 1784 damage so far. This is not good actually. Well, I'd like to not use the high potion, but I feel like a single flame attack would have killed me right there. So I decided to use a high potion instead. Please give me Tornado, I would really appreciate that. That is not Tornado form. The reason why that might have been a problem is because I didn't have time to use Image. I wanted to push past that other phase quicker. And 7 potions is 350 health. We might be fine with that amount, but then again, I will probably have to use an elixir in the next section, because I didn't buy a health potion. So that's kind of silly. Okay, do something important real quick. Thank you, Ricodactylus. I feel like there's a few more in there. Nice thing is, we are a fair bit faster than Liquid Flame. So we know that Liquid Flame at most gets 1 attack in for every 1 attack I get. Sometimes even I get 2 attacks in, or actions anyways. Or 1 of its actions. But yeah, I need to heal actually up a bit more than I did previously. Purely because the humanoid form could just immediately flame. The action bars, or the, well, time at when the individual forms attack is actually pretty much separate between the individual bosses as well. Alright, we have the tornado form. The hand form is now also out of magic, so we should be fine here. But the hand form no longer will be able to use Fire 2, so I can just attack with impunity. This... oh, it might have killed him if we hit both attacks. Unfortunately, well, we didn't. Ooh, this is not good. So here's the thing. I could attack, and chances are I would kill him if both of my attacks hit. But if one of them misses, I would die. And I kind of try to keep that deathless record going there. So rip that elixir. Alright, they did kill him. Also humanoid form, which means we get the flame scroll. That's actually what I was looking for. I was wrong, it's not the hand form. I was lucky. Okay. So having invested an elixir and a high potion, not great, because it's really purely because I didn't stock on regular potions. That's less than ideal, to say the very least. Thankfully we only have to open, I think, 3 chests in the escape. We could open more for more elixirs. I don't think we need to, but we'll see. Welcome to you, the Maddox, also Ricodactylus. Hope you're doing well. Oh, you're missing an eye in there, Darko. It's delicious. Here. Thank you. Thank you for feeding your rabbit. Heated at the present in the UK. I see. Right now I'm completely uninformed. I have an idea on what it's about, but yeah. Hope it turns out well, whatever that means. Tacos. Oh, there's a frog in there. Fun fact, I never had tacos when I created that tacos command before, so I had no idea what actually belongs into a taco or not. So I decided to take it to the next step and just put stuff in there that definitely don't belong in there. Nowadays I had tacos and I really like them. And I kinda miss them because that's not really a thing over here. I actually wonder whether I could get taco stuff over here. No. I'm not sure if I ever had a taco. That's fair. Alrighty, we have 10 minutes to escape Karna Castle, which is plenty of time, but maybe our potions would like to dictate otherwise. So, the main problem is that we can't defeat a bunch of enemies in here. Also, this time I'm going to go ahead and equip the full moon boomerang again. Hopefully not with quite as much of a miss rate. The enemies we're going to be facing still have a chance to dodge, at least the Geiger's enemies in particular. But the others we should be able to take care of in just short order here. This is why we equipped the boomerang. So the boomerang completely ignores a row. That sorcerer was actually in the back row, which means that we could attack him for full damage with the full moon dagger, or well, boomerang. So, most of the chests in here contain elixirs. There's a few, like the one on the left here. By the way, the left is, I actually mean left, has a ribbon on it. Okay. Yeah, you see the problem with the boomerang, chance to miss. The encounter chance in this area here is incredibly low too. First of all, gonna use an image because this guy hits like a truck if he decides to attack. And I'm gonna hit him. So this guy's at about 750 HP. 2 double attacks will defeat him. He however counterattacks with arrow, and sometimes he uses arrow too, which costs me a lot of health, which I really would like to not invest here because, yeah, this is not good. Okay, he didn't use arrow 2 again. I don't know whether he can use arrow 2 twice in a row, but missing so often is actually really not good. Let's see, I should probably just use 2 daggers against him. Okay, shuriken is what we got here. You know, I don't have enough potions to do this. Oh my goodness, are you serious? This is so unlikely, actually, to get this many encounters here. So, basically these wolves, when there is no other type of enemy around aside from wolves, they will go and escape. Boomerang hit rates are annoyingly low. Yeah, pretty much. So, I got a shuriken. Shuriken is a throwing weapon for the ninja, and that's a really, really good one, to say the very least. So, I will be able to make good use of that. However, there is a thing that I will need to do in an upcoming section. Let me think. Oh yeah, fine. Also, considering putting on smoke bomb instead. So there's one more chest that I will want to open that contains, I think, a lightning scroll. I don't even think I need that necessarily. I could just skip it. Either way, this one here. So, I want to... I don't want to use an elixir, but I don't really have any other healing items. Also, what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna put on smoke as an ability here. And and that's fine with all the weapons. Actually, no, not really. I'm gonna just go for the dagger. Alright, the reason I put on smoke is because I want to get a solo encounter with a Gygas enemy. You can run away from chest encounters, but these ones here in particular are actually really tough to run away from. So I just equipped the smoke command in order to be able to only have to deal with a Gygas enemy. That is my goal here. And in this chest we get one of the best weapons in the entire game. Like, even though it is not gonna be a damaging weapon for the entire game, it's still going to be a really good utility weapon. Because this is gonna be the Guardian Dagger. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. With some daggers. So he will die in just 2 attacks if I don't miss. Even with daggers, because he has just under 800 HP. Either way, the Guardian Dagger right now will actually increase my damage output by a huge margin. Like, it's really, really good for that. So that's very, very nice already. And that's one thing. The other thing is, I will be able to use that dagger. Oops, I don't need to go here. For a 1 in 4 chance to just block physical attacks. So in conjunction with the Elf Cape, we actually have pretty much a 50-50 chance to avoid physical attacks entirely, which is really nice. There is another Elf Cape on the left tower, which I'm not going to bother to get because we already have an Elf Cape. I can only use one anyways. There is, I think, a Lightning Scroll in here. It might be a Fire Scroll, actually. I'm gonna go and try and grab it. Let's see. Alright. Hopefully he doesn't counterattack twice. Alright. Also, he did not use his arrow 2, so he should be fine here. Actually, a little bit spooky trying to deal with these guys. Either way, we gain the levels, that's just need to. And here we get a Thunder Scroll. Alright, kind of what I expected. Alrighty, so here, we actually want to equip the Boomerang. Actually, not now. First of all, what I'm gonna do is I will take care of 2 of the wolves. So, this is a slightly different encounter than what we've seen in the previous section as random encounters. This one here functions slightly different. So, the way this works is the sergeant yells attack, and all of the wolves will get 1 physical attack. Pretty much like Steiner's ability in Final Fantasy IX. However, in previous encounters, those wolves would have actually attacked on their own volition as well on top of it, meaning they would basically 2 turns a time. However, in this case, well, they do not, because they are kind of different types of wolves that only attack when, well, told to do so. However, the other concept is still the same. If we defeat the sergeant, the wolf will just flee. In this case, however, it's more important to just kill the sergeant, because he actually would transform into an enemy called Deathclaw. Or, no, Ironclaw is his name. He uses an ability called Deathclaw. That ability is actually pretty nasty to deal with, because it will stun you, as well as put you into critical HP. It's a magic attack, so we cannot block it via image. And I don't need to tell you how bad it is to get both stunned and put into critical HP as a solo character. It's pretty much a death sentence most of the time, unless you get really lucky. Image before this fight might have been good. It would have been, it's true. But I was kinda derp. So yeah, if I had more potions, I would have also opened up a bunch more chests and defeated a bunch more of these Gygas enemies for elixirs in the chests. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4 more chests that had elixirs in them that I did not end up opening here. Alrighty, so order of operation. I have to get potions. Actually, really silly that I forgot that. I even bought the spell that I don't need until way later. The potions, I forgot. Alright. We're also going to buy a bunch of antidotes, and a bunch of eye drops, and a bunch of maiden's kisses, and a bunch of lucky mallets. Basically all the kind of status curative items are gonna be for use here. So that is here. Why is Ferris always chosen as a solo character? Sometimes we also choose Butts, but the main reason why it's either Butts or Ferris is because... Oh, I don't need to go here now. The reason why it's either Butts or Ferris, generally speaking, is because these are the characters that are around the most, so to speak. Like, they're just literally here all the time, except Ferris is missing for one more boss fight than Butts, and that's basically just a filler boss anyways. If you have defeated X-Death, you'll probably not have much trouble with Antline. Mind you, you could technically die to Antline, it's not unheard of. Because that thing is not just annoying, it can be slightly dangerous if you're unlucky. But most of the time... Most of the time you will be perfectly fine. And yeah, what left is that? The way we pick whether it's Ferris or Butts is by having a raffle, usually at the end of a solo character challenge run, where people get to join, and the lucky winner will be able to tell me whether I should choose Butts or Ferris for the next one. Yeah. The only boss battle that we are with neither Butts nor Ferris present is Gallows. Encounter with Gilgamesh in the basement. So that's going to be the one thing that we will miss out of on various solo characters. I do believe Ninja is going to be strong enough that we can just straight up defeat Gilgamesh as a level 1 ninja as well, as Gallows. So that's not going to be that big of a deal. But as few other solo characters, there's just no reasonable way to try and defeat Gilgamesh, even though he is really weak and not supposed to be a challenge with the corresponding solo character. At level 1 that is, specifically, because we don't level up Galuf. So, well, we just use a samurai to briefly get past that part. So Ifrit is the next boss here. Ifrit has a total of 3000 HP. He is weak to water as well as ice, but unfortunately we do not have access to water scrolls yet, so we cannot even use that against him even if we wanted to. Further, he does have decent evasion, so I'm gonna use daggers again rather than using So I'm gonna use daggers again rather than using the full moon. Just the full moon, while it does a fair bit more damage, it's just not as reliable. Daggers once again, they don't just oh, that's unlucky. Stop that, please. I have to actually immediately heal. Kinda mean. So daggers will immediately hit a lot. Also, high kick would be an attack that stuns as well as deals physical damage. This is why we set up image in the first place. Ooh, that's a lot less damage than I anticipated. That's a fair bit more damage than I hoped for. Oh, that's not good. So he basically alternates. He has a 2 in 3 chance to actually use Fire 2 on his first turn, so very likely that he will keep using Fire 2 actually every other turn. But this is not just bad luck, it's just, well, unfortunate how it works. So what I may want to do is, oh yeah, actually I wanted to throw the shurikens at him. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of damage. I didn't expect quite that much damage. So, throw never misses. I'm actually going to throw the katana here. Not quite as strong as the dagger, but it was just enough actually to take out Ifrit. The shuriken. It's not quite as strong as a shuriken as well, I would say. I actually forgot that I wanted to throw those. That is way better than having to invest way more elixirs than that. Also, we get another flame scroll, which is perfect because we want to use 4 on the next boss. So, this is where you basically get a first taste of how insanely powerful throw can be if you have the correct thing to throw. In this case, a shuriken. Shurikens you cannot buy yet, however I will be able to buy them very soon. And they have really, really high attack power. As you might be able to tell, I just almost would have two-shot him with 2 shurikens. Not quite. But yeah. The reason why they are so strong is, for one, shurikens in particular have a very high base attack power. Also, stealth rope here has more defense, which is really nice. Also, +1 agility. Since I don't care about my attack power, I'm gonna use the stealth rope. It's just better for defenses. Where was I? Oh yeah. Shurikens have a really, really high attack power, as well as the damage formula is actually the formula that was supposed to be used for daggers, probably. We don't technically know whether the old dagger or the current dagger formula we use is actually intended or whether it's just a bug. We assume it's a bug because that kind of would make the most sense based on how the code looks. So either way, throw uses this the actual formula, which means it considers both agility as well as strength at full power, which means it just scales off of both strength and agility very, very well, and since we have both of those stats rather high as a baseline as a ninja, well, we will deal a really hefty amount of damage thanks to a higher multiplier. And that's kind of how that works. Alrighty, so Ifrit, the bane of a lot of solar characters. If you do not have his weakness to deal with him, you might be in trouble. So this guy has 3600 HP, and he tends to counter-attack whenever you hit him with anything that isn't magic. And in this case, I don't know whether this is considered magic or not. Either way, his weakness is fire. We don't have a particularly high magic power stat. However, it is high enough that we actually can just throw 3 flame scrolls apparently. Oh yeah, he does counter-attack with armor. Armor cuts all the physical damage he receives in half, by the way. He also can only use Wind Slash every other turn, so I'm not worried about, let's say, low rolling another flame scroll and him getting another Wind Slash. We would have most likely survived, almost no matter what. So yeah, Biblos is a huge hurdle for so many solar cactus, but this is why he farmed the flame scrolls. I didn't technically have to farm 2 flame scrolls, I guess. But then again, I wasn't entirely sure whether I would get Liquid Flames flame scroll, which, since that was 1 in 3 if I don't manipulate it. Scrolls are not considered magic. Yes, for the purpose of attacking, apparently, or at least for counter-attacking for Biblos. Scrolls are not considered magic in this case. Like, they deal magic damage, but the action of throwing is effectively something Biblos reacts to. But yeah, this was really, really easy, and that's going to be pretty much the theme of the ninja, I feel. So we still have one more shuriken that we can throw, thanks to throwing the katana instead, which was just enough damage to take out Ifrit after I already hit him a few times, forgetting that I should throw. Really nice against Leviathan, that's true. And again, we are not even going to see Leviathan in this run here. I don't plan on doing much of side content as a ninja. There's not really much of a reason to. Okay, that was the library. You also, actually, one thing I did not mention, you do not want to have a level that is a multiple of 5 in the library. That would kind of be a bit of a problem, because if you get back attacked by one of these blue demon head thingies, I think it's page 64 its name, it could use level 5 Doom, which if you are, well, level 20 for example, your level is divisible by 5, which means a level 5 spell will always hit, and Doom is just an instant death. The only way to avoid doom in that situation, if you are divisible by 5, you would need to have an armor called the Bone Mail, which makes you immune to instant death as well as... Also, I want to kill this guy because he has a chance to drop me stuff. By the way, it makes you immune to instant death as well as heals you in case you get doomed. So this is a zoo. I think it is like 800 HP, something along these lines. And it has a 1 in 16 chance to drop an elixir. It does give pretty okay experience, but compared to what we will very soon be able to get on experience very easily, this is not exactly much of a comparison. I mainly killed him for a potential elixir there. Also, I do want to move back into the front row, so I don't have to move into the front row in combat. Alrighty, did I forget anything? I probably did. Oh yeah, one thing I want to do is I want to buy... So right now we have 2 mithril daggers. Maybe I'll still use one? Either way, we buy 2 more. And the reason for this is because mithril daggers allow my other characters to just one-shot themselves. So it's gonna be easier to set up the solo character challenge again. Banana. Tomato. One of the nice things about this game is that you can actually advance the text boxes by using the D-pad, so I can take my right hand off of my controller and just kind of, well, use the mouse properly. I'm scrolling around and stuff on the side, like the challenge run document as well as the algorithms guide. There we go. Words are difficult to find sometimes. Alrighty, we will soon get our steamship, which will very soon afterwards get taken away. Now there's a little fun fact. On the water, you can get into encounters with enemies that are called, I think, thunder anemones, or lightning anemones, or something like that. Either way, those things have a chance to drop lightning scrolls, which are, as you may have seen, rather potent. If an enemy is weak to lightning, we will deal about 1200 damage to them, because if an enemy is weak to something, they will have their physical, they will have their magic defense or physical defense, whatever it may concern, completely nullified, and it will just basically deal max damage more or less. And welcome to you, Vagabond. I'm doing quite fine. A bit tired, but hanging on to say the least. I hope you're doing well. So, kind of as a quick heads up, if you need to do some laundry or if you need to take a shower, take a bath, clean your kitchen or anything like that, in a few minutes we actually get to what is probably going to be one of the bigger grinds for the ninja, if not the... actually, most certainly the biggest one. And that is just because I kind of want to try and see whether I can keep the death count as low as possible. And so for that, I'm going to grind out both a flame ring as well as an angel ring. Mind you, that's pretty quick to do as a ninja, so it's not gonna take that long, but it's still going to take a fair while. Simultaneously, we will also gain a good amount of levels, which is definitely going to be very, very helpful. Very helpful in the quest of just not having to worry about, well, dying. For the most part, there will be certain instances where it's just like, well, too bad. Not much we can do about that. Should be usually fine though. One way, fun fact is, sleep bubbles are actually solid, so you can double through them. Kind of silly. Alrighty. So, what you could do, the only reason why you want to potentially, with some characters, keep the steamship for a little bit longer than necessary, is because you can right now access an island with, like, let's say hidden mini-boss or super-boss or whatever you want to call it. Also, let's give everybody a metal dagger, so they can easily one-shot themselves. Also, remove your armor. So it is not really necessary for me to remove the armor of Galuf and Lena, but for Butts it actually is possible that I think he might survive a Mithril Dagger hit on himself. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Sorry Galuf, you should have been able to one-shot yourself too. Either way, Butts could have potentially one-shot him and not one-shot himself if he has the leather armor equipped with a Mithril Dagger. Because he's level 2 rather than level 1. But yeah, another big reason why you want to, like, just continue the story here sooner rather than later is because on the water you kind of have to worry about sea encounters, and unless you specifically want to farm them for whatever reason, there's not really a reason to stick around on the water for too long. I mean, for example, if you do like a challenge run where you're not allowed to buy anything from shops, then that is kind of your only way to get Thunder Scrolls at this point in the game. So in this sense, it might be actually very useful. Actually, that's a curious idea. What if you were not allowed to buy anything from shops? Maybe even restrict it further to only use things that you find from enemies one way or another. You would have a thief in your party, probably. Curious thought. So the Barden Hunter fire crystals are only available here, which, by the way, I kind of forgot to mention this. After we defeated Liquid Flame and escaped the castle, we did actually unlock the ninja for real, so to speak. Which obviously we did unlock the ninja before that, otherwise the solo character challenge would kind of be missing a lot of bosses, which would be weird. We've done a couple of no shopping runs in Canary, which at least make things a lot faster. Interesting. How weird that those crystals weighed just enough to be the thing that kept the black chocobo from flying. Yeah, and even weirder is that those crystals are apparently heavier than 3 fully grown people that also have full set of equipments, usually anyways, as well as, well, other stuff. So, this shop is interesting because it sells everything for half price, which is actually kind of neat. More than 4 people? Kinda. So here's where you can buy shurikens. So you've seen how ridiculously powerful they are. Also here we have a kunai, which actually, I believe that's basically just better than the... It's less good than the full moon, but because it has a 100% hit rate, I am gonna use the kunai. If I need to hit something in the back row, I will do this differently. Either way. So first of all, I need to make money. Well, I don't need to, but it's gonna be easier if I do. Don't need the daggers anymore. The protect potion, sell the whip because we can't use it. We cannot use the healing stuff either. Another giant's potion. Pretty much everything I'm selling right now is, or are things that I just have no use for because we can't equip them, or they're just not really worthwhile throwing either. I think I'm going to stick to ninja suit. I'm not going to equip the trading armor anymore anyways. And that's that. So, what we're going to do is we just buy thunder scrolls. All of them, as we can. In fact, I might actually just sell some phoenix stones to buy a few more. So, thunder scrolls cost us 200 gold each. We can carry a maximum of 99. And we are probably going to go through all of them. So, you've already seen the power of Flame Scroll on an enemy that is weak to that particular element. However, we are actually going to throw those Thunder Scrolls against enemies that are not weak against it. However, those enemies' main gimmick is that they are just cutting your level in half, meaning you don't deal much damage, as well as having a lot of evasion, physical evasion to be precise. So what this means is that they're actually not particularly strong against much at all. Like, they don't have much HP, and compared to how much they are worth in terms of things, experience, and also money, we just gain a lot of money back. So this is 870 gil, which means we gain 670 gil every encounter. Also 1450 experience, which is pretty ridiculous. And all we have to do is we hold down the A button as soon as we get into encounter, and we win. So, as mentioned before, if you need to do laundry or anything like that, now is an excellent opportunity, because we are basically just doing this for, like, I would think an hour probably. If you're watching this in the highlight or podcast, you can probably fast forward, unless you would like to hear the discussion, or you just have me in the background like I assume most people do anyways. The crystals weigh more than the people holding the crystal because they put them into their inventory. Right, I guess we have all bags of holding for that matter. Wait, kunai increases speed? Oh, it does! I actually did not even realize that. That is very helpful. I don't usually buy a kunai because it's not really necessary, but that's actually kind of nice. I had no idea. I probably just forgot, which is most likely more accurate. At least in GBR, it's used to manipulate turn order a lot, since ninjas tend to have the armor, you can vary their speed by 3. Right, that makes sense. And welcome to Useless Hobo. How are you doing today? So... But yeah, either way, my goal is going to be being able to afford a flame ring as well as an angel ring. Each one of these rings costs 50,000 gold. So since we get 670 gold each encounter effectively, how many encounters is that? 100,000 divided by 670. That is a total of about 150 encounters, which actually is really not that many considering how quick they go past. Tired. Yeah. I'm definitely in your boat with that one too. Yeah, I'm doing quite well, thank you. So, if you ever do like a solo character challenge or just a casual playthrough, if you have ninjas in your party or like you can also do it with black mages or summoners or anything like that. If you can just do a bit of area of effect damage and one-shot these black flames, it is very, very efficient to just grind a few levels here, or even money if you feel like it. The downside of magic using classes is of course that, well, they use up the magic, so you have to refill it once in a while. Thank you. So which battle background do you like better? The plains here with the, like, mountain lake or something like that in the background? Or the beach area over here? It doesn't change what type of encounter we have. The only influence that ever would have is if you had a geomancer in the party. I actually prefer the plains, I like green. So if I go just up and down here, this should actually be exactly 50-50 between getting a beach and getting plain encounters. And another level. So, as a reminder, we started at like level 19, we're already level 24. And we're not even necessarily here for the experience, we just want the flame ring and the angel ring. Which, technically speaking, once again to reiterate, we could, in theory, skip the angel ring. However, we would need to get a bit lucky in order to accomplish that. And honestly, I just don't really feel like taking a death where it's not necessary if we could just grind it out. Plus, we probably want the experience anyways for World 2 in order to make X-Death a little bit more doable. Which, I guess as a ninja you don't have that much trouble anyways, also accidentally one step too high. This is why you don't, well, defeat encounters here. By the way, in case you're wondering why I'm using specifically lightning scrolls, it's because they have the fastest animation. That's literally my reasoning. I guess I would also want to have a little bit more money left over in the end to stock up on 99 flame scrolls, 99 water scrolls, excuse me, and a few shurikens. So let's see, we dealt about 1,400 damage to Ifrit with the shuriken. I think 2 shurikens against Gilgamesh in the basement or in the prison with Solo Gallop would do the trick. So if we just go with a 50-50 shot of dodging Gilgamesh's attack, we should be able to do it with a level 1 ninja without too much trouble. Just a coin flip whether we get hit or not first. Interesting to think, some artists had to make a background that might be used only once or even never in most playthroughs. Yeah, that's fair. But then again, there is plenty of other art too that probably never gets used, or is almost never seen by a lot of people. Like in Seeker of Mana, in the woods area, in the Lost Forest? No, the Forest of Seasons? What is it called? Either way, in that area, if you hit a statue with your weapon, it will stick out its tongue. That's another sprite most people will never even notice. Although I do believe there's actually statues that do stick out their tongue by default. Oracle of Seasons? No, that's a different game. I meant Seeker of Mana for the upper lens area. Final Fantasy VI final cutscene with Terra's sprite with her hair flowing. It only exists in that scene. That is pretty awesome. And to be fair, pretty much everybody is going to see that final cutscene if they actually play through the game. Which, to be fair, is probably not everybody who has ever played it. Let's see. So while we get 670 gold every time we defeat an enemy, we still pay 200 gold times 300-ish. So that's... how much is that? 6,000? No, that's actually way more. That's 60,000 gold to be able to afford 99 scrolls of everything. Is that right? 200 times 100 is 20,000. Yeah, actually, that's correct, isn't it? Yeah, so we need actually an additional 60,000 to max out our inventory and scrolls. We probably don't need to max it out. In particular, water scrolls are not all that useful. There's actually a surprisingly interesting use for those. Also, might as well heal sometime. You had only half the health remaining, oh no! But it's mainly because, well, I leveled up so much that I gained a bunch more maximum HP. And you do not automatically gain the maximum HP that you just earned. Yep, exactly. Honestly, I actually really enjoy the concept of these music tracks, or also sprites or art assets in general, to be for one specific moment, for that one specific scene, because it usually makes them rather special. Exactly, Commander. I kind of love when games have a certain attention to detail, like something very simple such as... let's imagine a 2D platformer with slopes. A lot of games will actually just not care about your character standing on the slope, and will just have no animation that is different from it. However, the games that have more attention to detail, they will just have a character both facing right and also left, up or down the slopes. Just have slightly different animations for both standing out but also moving. Which is kind of neat. One thing I may want to consider is if I'm just close to a threshold of getting additional physical or magical damage for that matter through, well, levels. If I'm close to another level, I may want to just get that one more level. Oh, I guess one thing I didn't consider either about the money. I keep getting those speed potions. They are not worth much. But, well, because we get quite a few of them over the course of defeating these guys, they will add up to a fair bit of money as well, so it's not just purely from the encounters that we want to get the money from. Although it largely is. Really involved idle animations are good too for that reason. Yeah. And in some weird cases, idle animations actually are useful in specific circumstances. Shoutouts to Mulana 1 puzzle where we had to fall asleep by waiting for the idle animation to go. Yeah. Unfortunately, I knew about that puzzle before I played the game already. So I was actually I would be really curious whether I would figure it out on my own. Probably not, honestly. But it would have been kind of intriguing. That's why you like what you like about Lama Lana 2 so much. All the puzzles in it are a lot more readable. Given enough time, you'd be able to figure them out. That's true. I feel like Lama Lana 2, the puzzles were overall more well designed. A bit easier, but in a good way. Honestly, I would have liked to have a few more obscure puzzles that are optional in Lama Lana 2. Like, obscure on the level of Lama Lana 1, just for the really curious ones to explore every nook and cranny. Pepper on the face. Yep. You take it, we acquired quite a few lightning strolls at some point. Yes, we went to Butts' home village with the amazing music and just bought almost 99 lightning scrolls. Now we're throwing them all at these enemies to get a bunch of money. I want to afford both a flame ring as well as an ancient ring, so we're gonna be here for a while. When I think of Lama Lana 2, it's probably one of my favorite playthroughs that I've done, where I was basically co-op running through the game with Valhart, and we decided to put in, what is it, like 17 or 18 hours on the first day into it, and then another like 14 or 15 the next day, just because we just really wanted to play it. And initially I figured we were going to do the hard mode, but Valhart decided no hard mode. And I feel like that was a good thing, because while I really like Lama Lana 2 overall as a game, like, it's just really good, there were, well, some combat things that, well, Lama Lana 2 is not known for its combat, let's put it this way. Although it has significantly better movement mechanics than the predecessor, in my opinion. Kind of want to play through Lama Lana 2 again sometime. there's probably a lot that I forgot. But then again, a lot of it also come back again. I specifically remember one part where we were kind of stuck for a while once we managed to get into that snowy area, the ice. And basically, the reason why we were stuck is because I did not communicate one thing that I figured out. And I figured out that if you fall from greater height, you could actually sink deeper into the snow. Like, I figured that out pretty much automatically, and it was literally second nature to me that this is, oh, that's how it works, as soon as I initially got in contact with the snow. So I didn't really think about telling Velhard about it, and he didn't figure it out. And we were just running back and forth, and there was that one door or whatever I forgot to check. And that was kind of the key to everything. Also, I kind of hope they fix that one tablet in Hell, where it just didn't make sense compared to the original Japanese version, where you had to use a thing at a specific place, but that specific place was just completely not indicated in any capacity. We were running in circles for a really long time until we found it. Attack from the back. Pretty uncommon for them to attack from the back, but that's the reason why I'm actually still in the front row. Because if you get back attacked, well, your front and back row gets swapped. So this means I'm now in the back row. If they attack me physically, they will only deal half the damage because, well, I'm in the back row now. And the only time they ever get to attack me is if I get back attacked anyway, so it just makes sense. Rip Tintin. Oh yeah. Nice. Be careful what you secretly wish for. Because if that secret reaches 100%, I highly recommend that you put anything that is just rump-sized or bite-sized for a rabbit, as it were, into a safe place, like keys, your wallet, anything that smells or even remotely looks like food is probably most safely stored in a faraway place because the rumpa raid has been unleashed. Rump, rump, rump. And as a note, rabbits are always super incredibly hungry, even if they've just eaten, so make sure that anything that looks like food or remotely smells like food or even has the color of food, which is basically everything that is just bite-sized, is safely stowed away. Rump. I like that. Oh, by the way, something completely different. So the bot has a chance to react to certain keywords. So for example, if somebody talks about... what are some of the keywords. Let me check real quick. Triggers. So if somebody talks about cookies, the rabbit has, or well, the bot has a chance to respond with the rabbit with about a 5% chance. So it's kind of unusual that it will respond, but sometimes it will, and it kind of makes it a little bit more dynamic. So if anybody has a suggestion what the trigger word could be, what the rabbit or the bot for that matter could respond to, in which capacity, feel free to let me know. More regular guaranteed. But yeah, it's only a 5% chance for that to be a thing. Or if somebody talks about secrets. That's a 52. Slightly higher percentage. Or if somebody says Yaga hey, the bot has a 20% chance to respond as well with hello. Is bacon overdone yet? Well, if it's a bit too dark, then it's probably a bit overdone. How many lightning strolls do we still have? 11. Or thunder scrolls, I suppose. Same difference. Technically thunder is the sound, lightning is the actual electricity and energy. Then again, thunder is also some form of energy if you want to look at it that way. Seems overdone, crispy. Yeah, I actually like the bacon, not quite too much done. Then again, I'm not that big of a fan of bacon in the first place. I'd like to have some pancakes, please. But pancake is actually pretty much not a thing. The first time I've ever had pancakes is when I was like 13 or 14 years old, when I went to a friend and, well, we were just playing video games in their room and, well, his mother decided to just make pancakes and I got some too. They were super tasty because she put a bunch of sugar in it. Probably. Either way, they were really good. And since then I really like pancakes. I just haven't really had, well, an opportunity to eat them much since it's not exactly a common thing over here. I wonder what pancakes are called in German. Let me see that actually. Not a back attack. Alright. Hit so many attacks or encounters without a back attack, this is probably normal at this point. Pancake. I always thought that was an omelette, but I guess that's a separate thing then. Bacon is better if we make it with more bacon. Sure, I'll go with that. Did you eat them with syrup? Pancakes? Some of them. There's a lot of things that goes well with pancakes, I would say. Omelets are made with eggs. Pancakes are not. It also show how much I know about pancakes. Are we ordering breakfast? I'll have bacon, eggs and pancakes, please. Kinda difficult to deliver, to be honest, but we can order. I'm not sure we will receive anything, but we can certainly try. Pancakes are flour and egg batter. Okay, so there is egg in there. So we just used up our last lightning scroll, which means we made about a bit more than 60,000 gold. Might be about 70,000. Also, we'll take a very short break, just get up, stretch, and walk around for a short while in here, because simultaneously we have amazing music. I really like this music. It's really good. I'm actually really quick look up something. I'm curious how long it takes until shurikens are outdated in terms of attack power compared to other throwable weapons. So shurikens have 50 attack power. That is quite substantial. Let's see what... Let's see an episode has. Episode has 57, so that's actually stronger already. And Slumber Sword is 49, about the same, although it is more expensive. What about a Wind Dagger? Air Lancet, I think it's called. Air Lancet is 56, so it's about the same, almost the same power as throwing an episode. Okay. Either way, shurikens are gonna be useful, but not for that long. Oh wow, we have a lot more money than I thought. Which is nice. We're just gonna stock up on all 3 types of scrolls to the max. Because that's what I will want to go with anyways. And then one more volley of lightning scrolls should almost do the trick to be able to afford everything I want. Not quite actually. I think we're gonna be just a little bit short. Wait a second. I forgot to take my break. I'm already going again. I need to get up and stretch. Hey Newster, welcome. I hope you're doing well. What is the attack power of a shuriken compared to a 2500 guild weapon? That's a good question. Let's see, what does cost 2500? I think the next best thing you can find is like the daggers in World 2. Let's see. Guardian daggers here, Mage Masher, 31. Ori Halcon dagger is what I was thinking of. So Ori Halcon dagger costs you 3,400 gold, which is next closest to be able, well, weapon you can buy anyways. It might be a sword. Either way, Ori Halcon dagger only has 41 attack power versus the 50 of the shurikens, so it is a fair bit weaker still. So shurikens are just very cost efficient, but then again, you can't really use them for anything else either. Which, in that case, doesn't really matter. Okay, quick break, getting up, stretching, also getting more water, so be right back. Oh, Coral Sword at 2800 has 37 attack. I forgot the Coral Sword, that's a really good one. Thank you, Kamaru. By the way, does the Coral Sword, if you throw, does it retain element? I thought it does not, does it? Either way, be right back. It does not, thank you. Alrighty, I'm back. So, let's continue. Okay. I like this music. You can buy forged katanas to throw? Really? Are they really that good? Let's see. I don't think I've ever bought forged katanas, because if I had the samurai, I had like one. So I wouldn't have much more use for that stuff. Let's see, forged katana has an attack power of 87, which is just kind of square in the middle between shurikens as well and Fuma shurikens. They do cost 1,408, or 14,800 actually, basically 15,000. If you go for forged swords, you might as well just go for Fuma shurikens, in my opinion. Or that's my impression anyways. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Now hear me out, Ragnarok has 140 attack and you can just pull them out of thin air. Right. The shurikens prices are ridiculous. Guild Toast does more damage for cheaper. I suppose. I think throw is a little bit more versatile than Guild Toss. Because Guild Toss you cannot single target even if you want to. Plus if you're too high level that actually costs you a lot of money. It's kind of silly to think about it that way, I suppose. Okay, I was just scrolling through my follow list on Twitch, and I was really confused for a second. Where it's like, didn't say Magus he wasn't going to stream today because he wanted to have a day off or two. And I was really confused to see like a Magus symbol in the list of streams that are live. Turns out, it's another moon bro who has the same symbol named Jenya. I was also further confused by his webcam looking a bit different than what I used to. I was thinking, wow, did you shave? And then eventually I realized it. You rely on Guild House for the crystals and Atmos. It works great on the Void grinding if you have an all of the months. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Then again, another ability of the Samurai is actually that insta-kill thing. I forget what it's called, but it's actually pretty solid as well. Exactly, Hyrule. Slash or Iainuki? Ah, that's right. I think it's slash in this bad translation. I'm actually curious. So, for a samurai, until which level would it be actually cash positive to grind on Black Flames with Guild Toss? I imagine once you reach like level 20 or so, it already starts being not particularly viable for making money. Or even breaking even for that matter. Why would you want to master all jobs? By the way, I do have a Japanese card, as you may already know, for this game here, and the file on it actually had a save file in the pyramid. And the interesting thing about it is, it actually used the exact same strategy that I used for leveling my quad berserkers in the one-shot siesta with the 4 berserkers. Where it's just walking against the pyramid thing, and that's how they apparently maxed out their job points. Just letting the console probably run for a few hours until the job points are maxed out for all classes, I would imagine. Because they had the money maxed out, they had a bunch of items maxed out, and pretty much all the jobs maxed out. It's kind of silly to see. At level 4, guild host starts losing money, unless your math is wrong. Oh, 4 already? Black Flames 174 gil each. Guild costs level times 50 per enemy thrown, so at level 4 is 200 per Black Flame. Oh, wow. I figured it would at least be cash positive at least until level 20. That is way worse than I thought it's going to be. Curious. Thank you for the heads up. Your only issue with this grind is that you're not doing it on the Flame Island. Flame Island? Oh, the flame-shaped island. I see. I've always gone over here, just because I'm used to it. I do think there's other spots where I could do this, isn't there? It has no forest though, which is a good thing. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter if there's only black flames. If I go one step north, I actually get into a different encounter zone. Which is why we encountered like other things earlier. Because I didn't... well, I forgot about it. But the fact that it looks like a flame is a cool theme for what you find there. That's fair. Yeah, I mean I would need the airship first in order to get there if there's no forest. So, from that perspective, it does matter. Well, let's see, what is the best grinding sport for a late game ninja, by the way? What do you think? Because at some point I will want to have like 3400-ish HP in order to be able to survive a flare or a holy in phase 1 of X-Death. If you hit for more than 1,000 in World 1, mini dragons are great. Well, we're not gonna do that. That's an interesting point. Well, mini dragon would be great if we can manipulate them, which I cannot. Late game, we think you've used the force part of the void as well, since enemies are weak to fire. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but those things have about 6,000 HP, and we are probably not doing much more than 1,500 damage with a flame scroll without having like another job to boost the magic stat. I didn't even register that, Komaru. Nice. So I feel like, as mentioned before, Sulla is one of the bigger inspirations to do these solo character challenges, also, for that matter, source of information. And probably one of the biggest differences between our playstyle is, I don't mind grinding in efficient spots. Like, I plan ahead on where it's most efficient to grind if I feel like I need to grind. I don't really like fighting random enemies along the way if it's not particularly efficient. For example, I pretty much never kill anything on North Mountain, or the Hero Mountain, I suppose. Because it's just not particularly great. But I do see the appeal of, well, just fighting everything along the way, which can make it quite interesting against certain enemies. But it also makes it significantly longer if you don't optimize the grind. And I guess I am a speedrunner at heart, even if this is not a speedrun. Don't need to optimize everything. And, well, I also guess something like a White Mage or a Geomancer, they just take long enough by themselves, so I might as well go for the more efficient grinds. The only regret I have about the Geomancer is not using the grind in World 1. Against the Hydras in the Lonka ruins, because I thought I could make it without over-leveling, but nope. To be fair, I didn't even try, but the math just didn't work out compared to just using Dancing Dagger on the same level. Possibly grinding indoors or outdoors of the interdimensional castle could be okay with scrolls. I think most of the enemies than the Iron Giants you run from have 3000 HP. I think it's about like 4000 in my brain. But we might be able to two-shot them. It's definitely an interesting suggestion. Also, I believe the Iron or Deathclaw enemies in there are weak to lightning? I seem to remember something along these lines. Let's save once in a while. They are weak to water. Oh. Yeah, they were weak to against something. So at least those would be almost a guaranteed two-shot, if not a one-shot. And the dancers themselves are not actually that dangerous. That would actually be a good spot, I like that. Bringing water scrolls just for that, I suppose. Most everything in that region is weak to water. Really? I didn't realize water actually had a use beyond like sandworm. Well, actually, sandworm does not. It's not even useful against sandworm. Ignore that. Well, there's that weird weakness you don't often get to exploit, but Ninja does it well. Yeah, which is probably pretty much why I have no idea about it. The one thing I know is that Ifrit is weak to water, but there's pretty much no way to deal water-based damage. Sword Dances are 3000 HP, but not weak. Yoshinbo is 4th but not weak. Deathclaw is Fury. Deathclaw, Fury, Iron Giant, Dragon Aves are weak to water. Wow. Iron Giants too? Then again, you probably wouldn't. I would assume Iron Giants are going to counterattack the throw, so I probably don't want to deal with those anyways. Well, I guess with Image and having a Bone Mill equipped... No, they are actually really fast, aren't they? It might work. Yeah, Tanya is weak to water, that's the one I knew as well. Deathclaw, Fury. Oh, those are the... I see. Fury and Iron Giants. Dragon Aves though. Dragon Aves are good experience, but they have like 7000 HP. So we probably would not defeat them 2 Water Scrolls. I would guess it takes like 3 at least. Which would actually still be a pretty decent grind overall. They get 1 attack in you. Then again, I feel like the Sword Dancers will die in 2 Water Scrolls, most likely. And the Deathclaw will die in 1. I remember the Fury being scary. Water is a great element. Yeah, it's just so difficult to find the source of water, oddly enough, in terms of damage output. Because there's like 2 that are actually usable. One is the Water Scroll for Ninja, which you kind of need to attach a mage character to it in order to deal decent damage. Well, in order to deal good damage. This is already decent. And the other one is Leviathan, as a summon. Still looking for a forest area. Farfalla is 2500, Moss Fungus is 5000 but weak to fire. Well, wait, those are weak to water too. Doesn't White Flame kind of absorb most elements? Or was that a different one of the flame thingies? It's near a healing pot. Healing pots are not that great for a solo character challenge, because you keep reviving your allies. Every time you see Final Fantasy V, for a moment, your brain thinks it's a ROM hack of Final Fantasy IV before you realize what it is. I see. I guess Final Fantasy IV is pretty strongly ingrained in your brain, so to speak. It's just not that big of a factor to me, because I played Final Fantasy V before I ever played 4. So, yeah. But I see where you're coming from. It's as if somebody cleaned up the game. I think we just mastered the ninja class. You put throwing almost in so much more cost-effective and often powerful than using raw magic. Oh yeah, absolutely. Also faster for that matter, because the animation is way quicker. So when I did not the Forge of Fiesta, when I did the challenge run that Brackengray and Seven Sins are currently doing, just alongside them, my strategy was to use Ninja's throw and the mage character. And I figured it would peter off, as in not be as efficient or strong anymore at some point, but throw with lightning, water and fire scrolls alone was so insanely powerful, it went all the way from the beginning pretty much to the endgame dungeon. And because with that rule set we are not allowed to run away from encounters, it was just insanely powerful. Throws ridiculous damage even in the void. Yes, especially powered with a mage character. White flame absorbs holy. Okay, so I was wrong. Honestly, I don't think we can defeat Moss Fungus in 2 hits. It has too much HP, and those are actually the scary ones with their crush ability or attack. Since there is encounters with 3 Moss Fungus, or Fungis, which are not such fun guys, I guess. We've played through 5 and 4 many times, but you still never played 5. Really should. I recommend like playing Final Fantasy V maybe with a little Forge of Fiesta rule set, since that is a really nice and easy entry to just get to playing. It's a little bit of a challenge run, but it doesn't have to be necessarily difficult. And it makes, as I said, the intro just a lot easier, at least if you're like me and are easily like choice paralyzed because there's so many choices for so many jobs. So yeah. None of the flames absorb fire. Ah. Because Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 5 were released in Europe at the same time in the PS1 collection. Yes. So the PlayStation version we got is Final Fantasy 4 and 5 in the... wait. Right, hang on. There it is, I found it. Yeah, it's... oh, no, actually it's true. It's called Final Fantasy Anthology, and it's Final Fantasy 4 and 5 on the PSX version. Now mind you, that's in English, and I don't know English, but it's a PAL version. Which is a shame, because I have an NTSC PlayStation 2 and can't play it because of it. But yeah, it is 4 and 5 on the PlayStation, so it was released here, but I never had a PlayStation, so... yeah. Fun fact, I actually did buy that anthology thing in like a second-hand store, where they normally mainly sold furniture and such. It just happened to have 2 games on a random counter as well that were like $5 each. That was Breath of Fire 4, as well as, well, Final Fantasy 4 and 5 Anthology. If you're hitting for more than 2550 with weakness, this should go down 2 hits. No, you need to hit for 1350 without the weakness. So you deal 2500 damage in 1 hit, which I don't think we're gonna reach. Probably. Barehanded is strong early, awful later. Yeah, you could say that. It doesn't scale quite strong enough like it does in Final Fantasy 1. And Metal Bear, thank you! Thank you so much for 32 ROMs of support. Welcome back, and I'm glad you enjoy your stay. I hope you're doing well. How's it going? And yeah, we did not actually get the Super Nintendo versions of these games. Yeah. Well, we got Terranigma, which is a really crazy good RPG, honestly. So, at least one thing is good. And then again, we missed out on Chrono Trigger. We missed out on Final Fantasy 6. We didn't have 4 either. We did get Secret of Evermore, we did get Secret of Mana, as well as Illusion of Gaia. Terranigma would have been much more popular if it was a world release, yes. Terranigma is definitely one of those gems that is just like... It's really good. It has so many aspects that are going for it, with, well, a few flaws, but just playing the game, as in the handling, how you move around, control your character, is just so pleasant. It's great. Thank you, Metal Bear. We did get Mystic Quest, which is just called Mystic Quest, not Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, because Final Fantasy was not really a name over here. Well, I never played it until I discovered emulators, but that's kind of besides the point. We did technically get it. Oh, that's what you meant. If you hit for about 1,000, 2,000, 1,250-ish regularly, then it works out. Right, that's fair. Which I don't think we're going to reach. But then again, who knows? Hey, Plat King, welcome. How are you doing? That's an adorable rabbit thing, or whatever it is. Looks like an upside down grimer. It should come from the ceiling. Maybe. Wasn't it Mystic Quest Legend in Europe because Final Fantasy Adventure was Mystic Quest? That's a very possible. I keep forgetting which one is which, to be honest. I just call them both Mystic Quest. Both Mystic Quest for Super Nintendo and Mystic Quest for Game Boy. I had neither of those games, so I don't really know. Oh, we also did get Lagoon. I actually like that game. But then again, I only had it for a weekend when I borrowed it from a friend. You're doing well, that's nice. Things are going quite fine for me. A bit tired because I didn't get enough sleep, but aside from that, quite fine. Starting to get hungry, probably should make myself a soup, which is actually an excellent opportunity right here, because this is going to be my last lightning scroll. Peaches said he found Lagoon in the random store and was like, I don't know man, then ended up speedrunning it. That sounds about... yeah. That sounds about right. We don't know what the endgame scroll damage will be. Yeah, I think unless the enemy particularly has a weakness to like any element that we have access to, the scrolls are not gonna be that great. Unless they have just ridiculous amounts of physical defense. But at this stage, at least until World 2, it's going to be still really good. We have 75 B potions. Also, we're actually almost at the threshold where we wanted to be. Almost. Okay, I'm gonna make myself a soup. We're gonna be grinding for... what level are we? I don't know, we're just gonna grind for like... let's say another 120,000 gold. Total, that is. And then we go on. Okay, quick break. I'm gonna make myself a soup because I'm getting hungry. Be right back. I couldn't pay you to play Lagoon. Honestly, I like the game. I don't think it's that bad. It is very awkward because they translated bump mechanics onto Super Nintendo. By the way, is the music a bit loud? Be right back. Alrighty, we are back. What boss is up next? Sandworm first. And then we get to Crayclaw. But before that we have a little bit longer until we can afford both the Angel Ring as well as like 10 Shuriken. That's gonna be my goal. Angel Ring, stock up on Lightning Scrolls, all the way up to the maximum. Crabman. Still no Deathless, Neo X-Def. Yeah, we got robbed in some of these places, but then again, a lot of others were pretty much expected. Plus it doesn't help that with some cactus I decide to take the extra challenge of having the magic part alive. I'm going to, with the ninja here in particular, try to, at the very least, get to the first X-Death encounter without deaths. I'm not sure that will work all that well, because I don't know how much damage we are going to deal on Atmos. How much maximum HP do we have? That's a lot of maximum HP. I guess the biggest problem is always going to be the Grand Cross. If your character doesn't deal a tremendous amount of damage, as well as having means to survive, for that matter, Grand Cross part is always a potential factor of just instant death. We've had that on quite a few occasions. It's not that unlikely for it to be instant death either. Like, Petrification kills us, instant death kills most characters. Berserk is usually death. Although we did have one lucky goal where it wasn't. What else? Low HP or critical HP status can be pretty much lethal. Barnacles? Barnacles is a funny word, I do agree. That's about 6,708 damage. 5. Oh. Wait, that's... Oh, alright. So, what I was doing just now, I was just kind of going in my brain. Alright, per enemy encounter we get 670... Wait, no, 640 gold. So that means it's about 50 encounters in order to get about 30,000 gold. But... 130,000. Total. Either way, that is actually accounting for also using up the money for buying the Thunder Scrolls itself. So it's actually a little bit less than 50, it's like 40 encounters. 40 is probably a bit overkill still, but let's see. Going like rather quickly. Who bottled the Grimer? Wait, what is that food item? Why is there a Grimer in a bottle? Hey Anonicus, welcome, how are you doing? Looks like Ninja's going well. Oh yeah, Ninja's really powerful. And we're just grinding until we have the money to buy everything we need in order to cruise pretty much through World 2. He loved the new pole, I'm glad. Was Berserk the last one then? No, Berserk is the next one. We're going to basically have a little event after I'm done with Seeker of Mana 1.2 controller, which is going to be after the 28th of December. I'm not entirely sure which day exactly. We're going to do our solo character challenge run with the Berserker. From beginning to the final boss. There's no guarantee that we will beat the final boss, but that's gonna be our next one. And basically, I did promise that I would do it, based on, well, so many people being so amazingly generous. Well, we were in a bit of need for the Yagashurathon, and that is still one of the things that is outstanding to do. And hey, Unparalleled Death, welcome, how are you doing? Ruin? No, you need to go into New Year's with a New Year's resolution, right? My resolution is to finally get that Berserker run done. Well, we just start early, like 2 days before New Year's. You almost voted for Berserker, but then you decided for Berserker. You just hope it's not Berserker. Right. But yeah, Berserker is going to be next. There's not really going to be a name choice, because I will just do it on a regular Japanese cartridge, because if I just do Berserker, I might as well go all the way. Just do it on the original cartridge in Japanese. reason to start playing through Final Fantasy 5. Oh, nice. I hope you enjoy it. I feel like that emote exists purely for the name pun there. I'm not sure I would even call it a pun. Nice. Yeah. Honestly, 200 hours in game time is probably a bit exaggerated. It was more like 150. But since you can't really keep track of it anymore, after it goes up to like 100 hours, it stops counting. Like it just stays at 99 hours and 59 minutes. The goal will be to beat it, but we will need some like RNG manipulation strategies in order to have a reasonable shot at being able to defeat the XDF. And for that we'll have to actually do quite a bit of research. And that research will happen while we are grinding for the Berserker 2. I was trying to find our old Super Nintendo controller that was like a large one with a joystick and stuff. So I could maybe have it on the floor and just walk left and right with the joystick with my feet. But I couldn't really find that one, unfortunately. It's gonna be a bit more awkward to play while also doing some research and testing. What's the reason behind using Ferris? In this one here or in the Berserker? Because the Berserker is going to be Ferris. In this one here, it's basically all solo character challenge runs I tend to do with either Butts or Ferris, because they are present for most of the boss fights, without missing any notable chunk of it anyways. And yeah, I let chat vote whether they want to see Butts or Ferris for most of the solo character challenge runs. Ferris is only missing Antlion, the beginning of World 3 boss, compared to Butts who still is there for everything else, except for, well, Gallop's solo encounter, but that's kind of separate. But the argument about the Antlion is that it's... if you have beaten XDEF at the end of World 2, you probably will have not too much trouble dealing with the Antlion. Every time you try to play Final Fantasy 5, you unlock new jobs, then want to run job levels, and you get burnt out and stop playing. Yeah, that... I feel like that would happen to a lot of people and parallel death. What I recommend in that situation is to just stick to a like 4 jobs format. You just choose one job from each crystal and just only play that one. Like a 4-job fiesta basically, where... in a 4-job fiesta, you're normally assigned a random job, which one you want to, or which one you're going to be able to use. And my very first playthrough was with a 4-job fiesta. I got Thief on the first crystal, I got Mystic Knight on the second one. I got, I think it was Dancer on the third one, and... I forget what the fourth one was. Either way, that's how I played through that game for the first time, and it was pretty much the perfect playthrough for me, because I would kind of fall into that trap as well to, oh, I got a new job, I need to test them, I need to do a ton of testing for figuring them out, I need to check out their abilities, you need to grind more and grind more, and it would just kind of drag on for too long for it to be enjoyable for me. Crazy how good Thief is in Final Fantasy 3 J, but terribly everywhere excels except Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 9. It's actually pretty decent in Final Fantasy 5, honestly. It's more of a support class, kind of like a white mage, just in a different area. But Thief is really good in my opinion. Well, to be fair, it's more niche than like white mage or a chemist or other support classes. And you kind of have to know what you want to steal from where. But I really like having a Thief. It's just not, well, good standalone, to say the least. There's a few butt spill wrinkled in there. Sure, you could put it that way. Wait. Oh, I overshot the goal. I've just kind of been running back and forth. So wow. Lockhead, amazing gear selection. Yeah, the thing about Final Fantasy VI is a lot of character can equip a lot of really good equipment. It's kind of one of the interesting things to me personally in Final Fantasy VI in particular. Most character can equip a lot of really good stuff, and there's not really that much of a difference between them equipment-wise. Even though some is technically heavy, some is medium, some is just light armor. It's not that big of a difference defense-wise either. Right, we're gonna buy 11? Sure. And now we're going to buy the Angel Ring as well as Flame Ring, and we're just gonna be on our way. Honestly, it's not necessarily inherently a bad way to play Unparalleled Death. It just requires a different type of mindset if you go for, like, just grinding out jobs and then figuring out stuff, etc. Which I'm not built for that. I like being able to advance in games without having to... So, here's the weird thing, I like having the ability to advance, but I also like having the option to just sit there and grind if I want to, without much of a downside. I was kind of watching a little bit of Darkest Dungeon gameplay today, where I was thinking the same thing, where it's just like, yeah, I like that game, but it's not for me to play for too long. Okay, so here we can buy a Flame Ring. Flame Ring makes you... Well, it makes you absorb fire damage and heals you for it instead, and also nullifies ice, so it actually has a secondary purpose, and it's really good for that. And then we have an Angel Ring. An Angel Ring prevents zombie and aging status, which aging status is the main reason why we want it right here. Zombie status preventing is nice too, however, so it's quite alright. Alrighty, so, and with this, we finally go and visit our friend the Sandworm. And let's see how this is going to go. Alrighty, how long did that take? I would say 1.5 hours of grinding, which is a lot quicker to reach this level. What are we now? 43 than most other characters. It might be actually pretty much the fastest grind that we've had in a solo character challenge for this level anyways. It's going to be a rather extreme contrast with the Berserker later, which is going to be literally the slowest for many reasons. Actually, it's really just one reason. It's just because we can't control the Berserker. Everyone can dual wield. I mean, that's pretty awesome in my opinion. Wasn't it also that you could dual wield shields? Ever since I saw being able to dual-wield shields in Phantasy Star 4, I was thinking, why don't more games have the opportunity or option to dual-wield shields? That's pretty awesome. Is Mystic Knight any good in this game? Yes, it's actually one of the more powerful classes overall. It's really, really strong. In fact, Mystic Knight is probably a really, really good starting point. If you don't necessarily know much about the game. It's just relatively simple, yet rather powerful, and does have its versatility still. Seems costly to waste a turn enchanting a sword. It definitely is that, to an extent. That is not wrong. But it's not as bad as you might think. Well, it's probably exactly as bad as you might think, honestly. Because that is the biggest downside to it. But Mystic Knights have quite a few tools to make up for it. You want some spoilers for that question, what a Mystic Knight can do and what its specialty is? Sure, alrighty. Oh, I forgot to. Mystic Knight guarantees hitting a status effect with like Sleep Blade, Break Blade, which is instant death on enemies if they are susceptible to it, and Mute Blade, which normally a lot of later bosses have effectively really high magic evasion, so it's really difficult to land these attacks normally, and you just do it while attacking as a Mystic Knight. So having that is really, really crazy good. Alright, here we have a Sandworm. He's always in the back row, and he has about 3000 HP. Well, correction, he had 3000 HP. I did not realize it would just heal its entire HP in damage. Nice. Might be the easiest Sandworm fight I've ever had. Either way, trying to deal with Sandworm with physical attacks is actually kind of tricky, because he does have... Well, he always is considered to be sitting in the back row. Water Scroll. Oh, they take really good damage from them. Are they weak to water? I didn't expect... Wait, Sandworm is not weak to water, the rest of the desert enemies are, aren't they? Oh, also another part about elemental spells, if you have a level 3 elemental sword, if the enemy is weak to it, and they are susceptible to, well, instantly dying, they will just die straight up. If they're not if they are susceptible to it but don't instantly die, then... then they will just take 4 times damage, which is rather crazy. And a weapon like a Drain Blade, for example, which heals you for the same amount of damage you deal, is really, really good for various situations too. And then there's just a neutral one that also... as in the neutral power enhancement with Flare Blade. A lot of these are really good. Wait, are you the boss? Ferris might just be the boss. I mean, she's the pirate leader, so it kind of makes sense, right? It was actually literally one Shuriken throw Dryzalizer. We dealt 3100 damage. So Sandworm is not usually particularly difficult. The exception will be the Berserker, trust me. But then again, he's not even the biggest difficulty for a Berserker. With Bone Meal, can you drain from zombies? No, it doesn't work that way around. The drain effect actually does get reversed if you target zombies, regardless of whether you wear a Bone Meal or not. However, there's a weird interaction if you hit yourself while wearing a bone mail with the Drain Blade. Because you will heal for the amount that you deal damage to yourself. Total. Like, you can't kill yourself with Drain Blade. Actually, I don't even know whether it's necessary for you to wear a bone mail for that. You love how you can attack yourself in the first place? Yeah, honestly, I think it's a really interesting mechanic. Especially since it actually does have its legitimate uses, such as if a character is confused or asleep, you just hit them and they wake up. You don't have to spend like an item for that. How exactly do you fall? You fall on your sword. Mechanically it works well, but story-wise it doesn't. Well, I mean, it's story-wise it makes sense if one character slaps another one. Just to make them snap out of it. Couldn't you just gently slap a companion from their sleep? I mean, usually you will unequip your weapon, so you kinda do that. Your medication says keep away from children, and I don't know if they mean pills or in general. In order to be on the side of caution, I would say both. There's a difference between a slap and a sword slice stab. Well, yeah. Technically. So, for the ninja we actually have a use for this thing over here. So, there's a lever, push it, no. There's a lever, pull it. Fun fact, this is where I learned the difference between pushing and pulling in English, because I actually did not know that one was the opposite of the other. So, you can do this entire little fetch quest, so to speak, in order to... I don't need to go there. In order to open up that door, but you can just say no, and then you say yes, in order to continue. So, you know how we kind of demolished that poor sandworm? Sandworm had 3000 HP. This next boss has 2000 HP, and it's weak to lightning. I'm actually not sure whether we could even one-shot it with Shuriken, but as a matter of fact, we don't have to. So this next boss is basically Carl boss version 2.0. And interestingly enough, he is less dangerous than Carboss overall, because his second and third turns he will have a 2 in 3 chance to use Tail Screw, so most of the time he will just put you into critical HP over and over again without actually physically attacking, which means he just doesn't really do anything. In our case we can just use Image and not worry about the physical attacks in the first place, thanks to Ninja being rather powerful. What's the taxonomy? What is a taxonomy? Hey Life Tactics, welcome. How are you doing? The classification of a creature, the species. Well, I would kind of specify it as a lobster type of a deal. Then again, that's kind of large for a lobster. Alright, we use image. So his only attacks that actually deal direct damage are physical. So we're literally immune to whatever he does to us. I don't even have to throw a Thunderstrull if I don't want to. Just curious how much damage it does. 1500, pretty solid. But yeah, as I said, he has such a high chance to use Tail Screw pretty much every single turn. He does have a rather substantial amount of physical defense, so that's that. Kind of like Carbos, he also has a physical attack that will paralyze you, but he uses it significantly less often. Which means, once again, he's kind of less dangerous. Plus, you also have an Elf Cape, plus it's like, usually you have tools to deal with him at this point with most characters. Sandwich, nice. Sounds good. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I see. I actually learned about that stuff when reading random Wikipedia articles, because those species things kept cropping up in plants and random animals and such. And I had no idea what it was about. Apparently, at least some Americans had that in school already, which, well, I never had that. You don't like the idea of bosses not giving experience, but Final Fantasy 6 and 9 punish you for leveling unless you're properly kitted. They punish you for leveling? Also. If you level without the right Esper in 6, you lose stats. Oh, I see. Well, I guess that's fair. I wouldn't really consider it to be punishing. It's more of a perfectionist slash completionist type thing though. Which, well, I guess kind of goes to show again that I'm not really one of those, unfortunately. Or fortunately. Attribute bonuses on gear and Final Fantasy 9 affects your parameter growth. Right, I learned about that at some point. I forgot about it until now. That's fair. I guess you could say it's a punishment to an extent. You're not wrong. More like min-maxing stats. Each level that raises your average party level also weakens your entire party in the World of Ruin. Well, to an extent, yes, because they join you based on your average level plus 1, I think? Or something like that. Yeah, I understand what you mean. I just didn't really think about it as punishing, though. Alrighty, so the next boss is going to be called Adam and Timmy, and there's no real reason for me to sit in the front row because we can just sit in the background and be happy. So, Adam and Timmy has a substantial amount of both magic and physical defense as well as shell and armor, meaning any damage we deal to him is going to be halved already. He is weak to is actually specifically ice if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's anything else that he's weak to. Nope, nothing we have access to anyways. So what we could do now is just throw a shuriken, but Adam and Timmy is just exclusively a physical enemy, or boss anyways, and all he does is he attacks twice, then he attacks once, and he attacks twice, and then he attacks once. And if we dodge some of these attacks once in a while, we're gonna be perfectly fine. And we can just throw flame or water or lightning scrolls, it doesn't matter. We basically circumvent his rather high physical defense in favor of, well, targeting the magic defense instead. He has only 2000 HP, so 6 water scrolls should do the trick. Also, if we... He should not actually even deal that much damage to me. Plus, we have a 50% chance to evade his physical attacks in the first place. So I could probably just hold on the A button and be perfectly fine. Hello Dark JDL, welcome, how are you doing? You never fight random encounters in World of Ruin until you get everyone back. I see. Gogon Yeti cannot equip Espers. That's true. Which, I wish you could equip Espers on the Yeti. Umara. He's just a tiny turtle named Timmy. Okay, give me a second. Just eating the rest of the soup I've been, well, eating it since a while. They nerfed Gao in the GBA version. Interesting. Just stocking up on potions again here. So next I will... Oh, I need a bit more money than that. All the ice. Bow. And that will be fine actually already. Oh, we actually have my potions maxed out anyways, so never mind. So here I will want to equip the flame ring as well as only equip a single knife so we don't deal much damage. And that will be the strategy for dealing with the upcoming encounters, guaranteed 100% of the time, never losing. Wind God Gao. Actually, I did not use Wind God Gao, but he still was really strong, honestly, so... I guess that's just for min-maxing or just kind of the overpowered stuff. Yeah, in my first complete playthrough of Final Fantasy VI, my final team ended up being Gao, Umaru, Mog, and then Cyan. I actually really like that combination. We made it all the way from phase 1 through the last phase, without anybody dying. You can leap him out of the party level equation. Oh, in order to put the level even lower? Just curious. So of course, because we just rested in a bed during this cutscene, I will want to just briefly make sure that it is a real Soul Cactus challenge run. Actually, there's absolutely no way I'm going to die in this next encounter up there. So I'm not even going to bother killing them up beforehand. It will be fine, trust me. Alrighty, so first, in order to enter this flying airship fortress thing, what I need to do is I need to defeat 4 of the cannons that are kind of on the sides of it. And these cannons are either rockets or missile launchers. And those rockets, what they do is they will always use either missile, which deals 75% of your current HP and damage, or they will use rocket punch, which confuses you and heals 50% of your current HP and damage. So effectively, they never actually directly kill you, because if you have 1 HP they will deal 0 damage, because their damage is always rounded down. So it's really easy to deal with them, because what I have right now equipped is a knife, which is literally the weakest weapon in the entire game. And what that does for us is that it will never deal any damage to ourselves, thanks to having enough armor to just completely avoid the knife damage. And that's why I have a knife equipped. And as you can see, we can just use Thunder Scrolls in order to deal with these guys really quickly too, which is actually might be surprising that this works this well. But yeah, the only danger from these rockets in particular would be just killing myself via an attack. And because I have a knife equipped, I'll literally cannot do that. Then the other encounter, which actually we didn't get, that's surprising, is a flame launcher. And those flame launchers actually deal fire-based damage. And because I currently have the flame ring equipped, it would heal me instead of, well, damaging me. So that's all there is to it. So we literally could not die to these encounters, it was impossible. Final team was Moxella's, Gogo, and Zion the first time. Nice. Gal skills amazingly resulting for reaching mid-slash and not for ring. Oh, interesting. Cool fight background, the airship in the fight. It's nice. It is. So, real quick, but I just realized what I'm gonna do. I'm actually going to buy a second kunai, because I didn't even think about this until now. But there's encounters where I neither care about my weapon's damage output, nor do I care about how strong the weapon is in the first place. So for these encounters, I will actually want to equip weapons that give me plus stats, like agility, so I'm gonna be acting faster. And that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing here. Sell the stuff I don't need here. I'm never going to use the commune again. The Guardian Dagger will always have a good use. Like, that's just pretty much a given. Like, there's no way you're never going to not use the Guardian Dagger anymore if you try to optimize, because the 1 in 4 chance to block attacks is really good if you can just do it on the fly. Alright, for this next encounter what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna equip 2 kunais, because they give me a little bit more agility, which probably does not matter in the end. I'm just like optimizing the little things, because it could matter, who knows. There's no way for me to know because I'm not trying it without them. Once you get Sasuke's Katana, Guardian is moot. I disagree, you need 2 Sasuke's Katana for Guardian to be moot. So, also, now I need to equip the Angel Ring. I actually don't know, Dark JDL. I figured they would stack. But I don't actually know whether Guardian Daggers stack. I just assumed they do. They don't? Oh. Oh. Well, never mind then. I actually did not realize that. Can you confirm whether they do or don't? I guess that's rather difficult to confirm. I just assumed they do, but I guess it might be a unique effect, which kind of makes sense. Alrighty, so the next boss here is why we got the Angel Ring. So this next boss here consists of three parts technically. 2 launchers and 1 soul cannon. And the little launchers on the back have 800 HP, and we just don't deal quite enough damage. They are not actually weak themselves to lightning, but the main soul cannon is weak to lightning, which by the way has 12,500 HP, so this is enough to destroy the launchers. So these launchers, we have a high potion. These launchers deal 50% of your current health and damage, so they are not inherently dangerous by themselves. What makes them dangerous is that they actually also inflict the aging status. So what the aging status does in this game is reduces your stats over the course of the battle to 1. Like every time you see that little ATB at the bottom move, one tick, it just reduces each stat by 1. As a player character, your level stays the same. An aging status on the enemy actually reduces their level too. So that is kind of a minor difference there. So either way, Soul Cannon has a wave beat which hits all party members and deals 50% of your maximum health and damage and inflicts the HP leak status. So I couldn't just use a simple little potion in order to survive an attack there. Either way, if I kept track of damage, I would actually go ahead and use another lightning scroll probably, because I assume it's one more attack, but I didn't actually count. I just wanted to play safe here, so I just use an elixir instead, and then we throw him to death probably right now. Okay, that sounds about right. Yep. See, I could have just used another lightning scroll, would have been fine. Oh well, we get our high potions and the dark matter back. Shield and mango stack because they're different. It's not really stack. Well, it is kind of stacking. I'll mildly disagree, it is stacking. Much more to the next level. 5,800, we can kill some stuff in here. Sasuke and Defender are treated the same, they don't stack. Looks like they do stack, not 2 Guardians, but 2 different blocking weapons work. Interesting. All of them together would be 100% dodge. It's never 100% because it's multiplicative rather than additive, well, block chance. Since they don't actually add block chance per se, only the shield does. Okay. Curious enough, I do believe these stone masks are actually weak to lightning. And these round mages have just little enough HP that they almost die in one attack there. Oh, I see. Fair enough. Yeah, as usual, I cannot exactly keep track of chat. Sorry. So, back to equipping the Guardian Dagger, so also as well as the Elf Cape. Mainly picking up the chests here for money purposes. I should probably go... No, that's fine. Another elixir. Oh, you cannot actually hit 100% physical evasion. Well, that's not true. You can, but you need to specifically have a Genji shield and a character minute having equipped it. Because a minute character doubles the evasion you get from shields. And because it's 50% evasion, it's 100% evasion. Which apparently still has like a 1 in 256 chance for you to get hit. But I don't actually know that, whether that's true. I've never seen it happen. Yeah, what Dark JDL says is probably accurate, considering that he wrote the randomizer for the Game Advance version, so he probably knows what he's talking about. Here's another shuriken we can throw, as well as a power ring, which is interesting. Power ring gives you +3 strength, which is nice, but I prefer the 1 in 3 chance to dodge for the most part. There's some encounters where you don't really care about dodging, where optimizing your strength might actually be pretty decent with a power ring, but that's kind of niche. Yeah, let's just throw at them. Not quite enough to defeat them in one hit. That's alright, we have enough HP to survive. Ribbit. I remember the challenge run where I was running through the game with everybody always frogged. Was kinda curious thinking about it. I wish you could throw the ancient sword at enemies and it would apply this aging status effect. That would be really neat. Preemptive. Maybe I should just fish for preemptive attacks because they are, well, 50% more common, 3 in 16 rather than 2 in 16 with a ninja. Because I can defeat them without taking any damage, but I already reached my next level anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The only reason why I wanted to have one more level is because I figured it's kinda close. I don't think I need it. Also, we just broke the 2000 HP barrier. Barely, but we broke it. Alrighty, so we are coming up to another boss very soon here. And this boss is called Archaeoavis. Archaeoavis is kind of weird in that it actually has 5 different forms. The game only really notifies you about him switching from Form 4 to Form 5, however. So the way this works is that Archaeoavis first form has ridiculously high physical defense, but basically no magic defense. Also it's weak to wind for whatever reason in the first form. And then basically over the course of the battle, that is supposed to change, like he gradually loses physical defense but gains more and more magic defense. So initially you kind of want to use magic-based attacks, which I'm going to be doing with our ninja here, just throwing some scrolls. Also, kunai is probably fine just for speed. Also, actually it's a strenuous weapon anyways. But at the end I will want to throw the shurikens instead, because that's just stronger. Also, a fun fact about these guys here, I'll be level 44. I don't wanna do it, but I'm gonna do it just for demonstration purposes. So this guy here is actually undead, gives a ton of experience, but once you defeat it, it counters with level 4 quarter. Because we're level 44, it will always hit. They always saw through the Phoenix Town that you basically just invested. So yeah, that is a 30 potions down the drain. Which, well, we have 9 left. Then again, using potions in boss fights is not usually viable anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, that is a lot of experience, specifically the 777 experience if you have a full party of 4 characters. Times 4 because I have only 1 character. 1 in 8 to 1 in 4 preempt ninja actually. The algorithm's guide says it's a 3 in 16. At least I thought it did. Are you sure about that? Preemptive. Maybe I did not read it in the algorithm's guide. I don't know where I have that number from, but I can't find it right now. Ah, that's fine. Okay, so Archeo Abyss is actually kind of a tricky boss at times. So he will always have one physical special attack that adds an additional status effect, which we can completely avoid thanks to Image because Ninja is overpowered. One regular physical attack as well as one elemental attack in each form. The first elemental attack I think is... oh, I don't know. Either way, he has 1600 HP in the first form, and there is no visual indication of him changing into the second form, so there's that. His magic attacks are always the type of attacks that are like deal a quarter of my maximum health in damage, so it would go about 500 damage guaranteed. So we are now in phase 2. You didn't see a switch there, did you? That's just because that's how it works. So he basically has elemental phases. I think phase 2 is ice-based? I think the third one is lightning and the fourth one is fire. I might be backwards on that. Either way, I can just throw water scrolls. He's never going to be absorbing water, but he will absorb lightning and also fire-based damage. The wing is, I think, inflicting poison if it hits, so while it's well, not particularly nice, it is also not particularly dangerous. However, later ones he will inflict a confusion, which is devastating, as well as... also we are in phase 3 now, as well as other ones that are like even worse, such as stun, or also in the final phase he can use Maelstrom, which puts us to critical HP. There's a flame, so that means he is in fire form. I could not throw the fire scroll without healing him. And yeah. Water scrolls are actually really nice because in his final form he's actually immune against literally every element except for water. But water actually still works if you for some reason want to keep using elemental attacks rather than physicals. So we are in phase 4 now? I forget where we are, but I probably should use some of the things I got. So, I'm going to throw the ancient soda we got earlier. Pretty good damage. Okay, we are now in phase 5. He has about 2600 HP, 2500, one or the other. He has 0 physical defense, but a fair amount of magic defense as well as magic evasion. So I really want to end this phase super quickly, because he can paralyze me with Entangle, and that could have really bad consequences. Like, he can paralyze, and then subsequently he could use Maelstrom, which puts me to critical HP, and then he could use a Flame or any elemental attack in his final phase that would just instantly kill me. This way we completely circumvent that by just one-shotting the final phase, thanks to a bit of a high level, I guess you could say. A bit higher than I necessarily wanted to, but I am absolutely willing to go for this. Astounding. Let's see, Galuf is going to leave, I don't need to worry about that. Oracle totally breaks this guy. Oh yeah, that was weird. You got an unintended counter kill on this boss yesterday. Ha! Nice. But yeah, him switching phases, like silently, from 1600 HP to the second phase, is effectively a counter-attack. And if you use abilities or things that just don't proc counter-attacks, Like for example, you counterattack yourself as a monk, then you just completely avoid him counterattacking. You actually can kill him in the first phase, straight up. Or something else like HP leak status. If that kills him, that also does not proc a counterattack and he will die prematurely. It's really convenient if that happens. I don't think remove is a command. You'd like everyone pay attention to the hole that Kryl/Kara comes through in the wall. Why? Did I miss it? Wait for it, you'll get it. But I'm so bad at paying attention. Oh. Huh, I never noticed. The Lonkans were so advanced, their walls self-repair. Haha, nice. I never noticed that. I mean, they were really advanced. I would not be surprised if they had self-repairing walls, to be completely honest. I mean, how else were their structures still standing after such a long time? Oh, Kishura, thank you for the host. I appreciate that. Hello, and I hope you're doing well. Where does that one come from? Lore Runner. Nice. What is the Lore Runner? Somebody asked. That's interesting. What King Tycoon isn't doing isn't very clear. I guess that's fair. What's up? By the way, is it crackling in your headphones or, well, in your sound as well? Because that is probably my capture card who can't handle certain sounds. Because we were having a certain issue. Okay. You were having a certain issue with the Switch as well, with the Dynamax Pokemons. So it's probably just a certain pitch that my capture card just can't handle. I guess it works well fine enough for everything else, so I'm not willing to invest into anything more than that. So I will just live with it. The sound is overall weird too. It is actually kind of off compared to, let's say, emulator. Like, it's a lot more... Like, some of the sound channels seem to be a bit more muffled than others. It's kind of weird. Oh, Raiden. BLN, thank you so much for the host, I appreciate that. And welcome everybody, I hope you're doing well. Currently playing Final Fantasy V solo character challenge with the ninja. Just a ninja, just one character, and that's all we do. And we tried to beat the game with that, which ninja is most certainly one of the most powerful characters. Also worth noting, this is not a single sitting. I do these challenge runs in multiple sittings. I have a timer running to basically have a rough comparison on how strong a character was, or fast, or, well, not so strong, depending on certain factors. That's that. Speedrunner plays for time, low runner plays for story. I see. Well, I kind of combine the two sometimes. This reminds me, I should actually add that to the next Yaga monthly straw polls. For Terranigma, Tales of Fantasia, as well as other stuff. I already completed most. It's more than half. The roughest one is coming up at the end of this month. Which is going to be Berserker. After that, it's not necessarily going to be easy. But at least not nearly as much grinding. At least I don't think so. Ninja in Final Fantasy V is a glass cannon? Actually, not even. Because of the image, you are actually incredibly resilient thanks to not having to worry about physical attacks at all, basically. Well, that's not entirely true, but you get the idea. Compared to so many other solo character classes, having the ability just to use image on yourself, just innately, is insanely good. You play because you're insane. What kind of runner are you? Sanity runner? Because you're running for sanity? Or something like that? I don't know. Dancer is the glass cannon with some RNG thrown in. Oh, Dancer is absolutely a glass cannon. With a huge amount of RNG until you get your rainbow dress or red shoes or whatever you want for dance up. Once you get that, it's actually a reasonably or surprisingly reliable glass cannon. Still a glass cannon though. Berserker is not sanity, no. Don't do Berserker. Not a good idea. Especially not in console, but you can't fast forward. Which is what I'm gonna do. Which of the classes was the most interesting to play so far? I dare to say Blue Mage, probably. Blue Mage has a huge amount of variety just built in, and it's just really, really great in my opinion to play Blue Mage. Probably one of my favorite classes so far, or even my favorite playthrough for that matter. Chemist was interesting to an extent, but it had a bit too much preparation time for my taste. What else was there? I need to actually make sure that it's solo character challenge. What else was there? Let me see real quick. Bard was actually surprisingly interesting for how few ability it has to work with, especially in the early stages. Was a lot of grinding, to be fair, but surprisingly interesting nonetheless. And... Time Mage was a good showcase of how broken Hasten's Slow is for a large portion. But yeah, definitely Blue Mage, I would say, overall. Okay. I have not done Mime, that is true. Mime is a thing that is outstanding. By the way, Mime is the one thing that I don't tend to put into the straw poll until we do Freelancer. We will do Mime after Freelancer. That's the one restriction I put onto this. Well, aside from the Berserker. Bard was definitely interesting. Alrighty, so at the end of World 1 here, we have to defeat 3 Meteor mini-bosses, and each one of these guys has their own, like, quirk to it. This one here is the Puroboros. If you have some form of dealing damage to all of them at the same time, this is pretty much super easy. So you use a Water Scroll. So all of these have about 1500 HP. And for the first 2 turns, Puroboros do nothing. The third turn, 2 out of 3 times they just do a physical attack. And 1 in 3 times, they will cast Exploder. Exploder will deal damage equivalent to however much HP they have remaining. Also, if you defeat those Puroboros in any way that provokes a counterattack or can provoke a counterattack, they will cast Life 2 on all of their allies, which means it brings them back with full HP. So that is a bit of a problem, but it's easy to circumvent that by just waiting until it explodes, for the remainder of HP it has left, assuming you have enough HP to survive however much it explodes for. So they can explode for a maximum of 1500 damage, which a lot of characters, well, they don't even get that much HP anytime soon, so it's a bit of a lottery to be able to weaken enough Puroboros far enough that they don't just insta-kill you. Especially on low HP characters such as the Dancer, it was a huge struggle to get lucky enough that you needed to have like 3 of them at the very least, or even 4 or 5 at a time, not explode in the first turn until you managed to hit enough of them to weak enough so that they are going to be, well, not killing you instantly. The alternative is just grinding a tremendous amount, which is easy for the ninja, but not so easy for most other character classes. Felt a tickle. Yeah, that Puroboros had 12 HP left. I was actually kind of worried that more than one would survive, but then again, we could just wait, and they would have only a sliver of health remaining anyways. So their exploder would deal effectively nothing. Alright, here we have Titan. Titan is weird because it is level 1. Or whatever that's worth. And he has 2 different attacks. One is physical, right there. And the other thing he can do is he can do cast a Quake, or Earthshaker. Earthshaker will deal a bit over 500 damage, and he will also cast Earthshaker when he dies. So you've always taken Earthshaker one way or another. If you're floating, you completely avoid the damage from Earthshaker because, well, you're floating above the earth. Also, he has 2500 HP, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, here he will counterattack because we just defeated him. And as long as you have enough HP, not to worry about. 1 in 3 times he can use Earthshaker just naturally as a regular attack. So that's that. Also, if you're a summoner, you want to definitely go and defeat Titan first because, well, Titan is a really strong summon at this point in the game. Is that the chicken knife on Ferris? No. We don't have a chicken knife. We have the Guardian Dagger and the Kunai. The Guardian Dagger gives us a 1 in 4 chance to block physical incoming attacks. And the Kunai gives us +1 agility. Yeah, the chicken knife we cannot have until a fair bit later into the game. Need the dark matters, need the gold armor. I guess I don't really need to plume that either. I might have to use. It's weird. Right, either way, we stock up on potions again. And I'm also going to buy a few Phoenix Stones for later use. Are you going to get the Swift song as a commemorative gesture and how OP it is? I did not plan for it. But yeah, by the way, speaking of interesting playthroughs or challenges, the Bard ended up being significantly more interesting than I anticipated it to be. I figured it would just be largely boring, because we hide until the enemies run out of MP and then we defeated them, but it ended up being a lot more involved and tactical than that. Because hide is not just useful to run enemies out of MP, but also skip certain phases and turns in weird ways. Alrighty, so the last Meteor mini-boss is Chimera Brain. Chimera Brain, I think, has 3000 HP. It's not particularly weak to anything in, well, specific. And also, Chimera Brain uses abilities that deal mainly ice damage. Actually, it uses one ability that deals 240 ice damage and inflicts HP leak status. With the Flame Ring, we are immune to that. And also, I think it has a physical attack as well as an Aqua Rake. Aqua Rake is actually a good chunk of damage to your entire party if you get hit by it, so it's pretty unpleasant. But because we are a solo character so over-leveled, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, 300 damage to your entire party is pretty substantial at this stage, normally. Also, Blaze is 240 damage to your entire party, and also HP leak status, but with a Flame Ring we are immune to it. We don't absorb it, even though it looks fire, it's actually ice-based damage. Also, Aqua Reiki, by the way, is not actually water-based damage, it is in fact neutral. It just deals 8 times damage to desert monsters, like the Sandworm and such. Kind of a separate thing for some reason. It also serves as a fleet command. Indeed, it's actually quite nice like that. Alrighty, and with this we actually have completed World 1 with, as pretty much expected, absolutely no issues or trouble at all. This is the first time I think we've completed World 1 with 0 deaths, with any character, and I have slight hope that we will be able to complete World 2 with 0 deaths as well, but that will basically largely depend on whether we get the 1 in 3 on X-Death. Plus I don't even know what kind of strategy I'm exactly going to use yet. So before we go, I want to remove all my equipment pieces from Ferris so Galuf can use it, and I will continue this next time. I hope next time is going to be tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is going to be another Zelda Link to the Past randomizer match, so I will probably play it before or after, because I want to close off or complete the Final Fantasy V solo challenge as well as the casual Super Mario RPG playthrough before I dig deep into one player 2 controller for Secret of Mana speedruns. So that's gonna be what's coming the next few days, with some tournament matches sprinkled in here and there, I suppose. So everybody, thank you so much for watching, for listening and for lurking. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and I wish you a good night. Take care.